In this episode of Twin Flame Confessions, I'm going to get you up to speed with my own journey, and then I would like to hear from you. What would you like to know from your twin flame if you could ask? Hello, fellow flames. Welcome to Twin Flame Confessions, Episode 1. What would you ask your twin flame if you had the opportunity? So, in case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I will help you live fearless, live loved, and live free. Welcome to my channel, and if you are new to my channel, make sure to get subscribed and hit the notification bell so you can stay tuned for the next series of videos that I have coming. You will not want to miss this new series of this Twin Flame Confessions. Twin Flame Confessions is basically something that has came through to me over my journey over the last couple years that I plan to come forward to share more of my actual twin flame journey, all my ascension teachers and that process, and be able to answer questions that you've been waiting to hear and waiting to know about your own twin flame journey. And this particular series is going to kind of piggyback the last video I did on karmic partners, where I had talked about one of my eternal flame teachers I was calling the eternal flame, and he was connected to a lot of karmic partners. And this is we're going to be kicking off a series with him, coming forth to be able to share real life situations with real life resolutions on answering real life questions about this journey from kind of the she said, he said kind of version of questions, but also looking at it from an insider point of view of this journey of inside that divine masculine, of where they're at, what's going on, what we can learn from them, what you can learn from my journey, what you can learn from the journey I've had with these teachers, and to be able to kind of put yourself in that position to see that mirrored reflection through some of the things that I've went through to give you a little bit more support and connection. So the series kickoff will start this weekend, so stay tuned for that. The series with this particular teacher is going to be talking about his awakening and the activation between him and I, our dynamic, the karmic partners that are involved in that, as well as his purpose. And it will be a series, and there will be multiple different teachers throughout this process that I've been on. And so I want to kind of just share with you a little bit about my own journey, kind of catch you up to speed. Because what has really happened, in this twin flame confession thing is there's a lot of things that, you could look at this two ways. On one side, in confessions, on the twin flame journey, you can't keep anything a hidden secret between you and your twin flame. It has to come up to be revealed. On the flip side of that, for instance, in my journey, I am an open book, and I come here to teach. I come here to be real, raw, and authentic, which, by the way, I want to thank everyone for your comments on that last video of the karmic partner situation video. And I'll put a link to that below. If you've not watched that video, you're going to want to catch up to speed with that information in the last couple karmic partners. What if my twin flame chooses the karmic partner was the title of that particular one. I want to thank you guys for your feedback about how you enjoyed the connection of my journey and that you could relate again. And you guys' response to that is a little bit about what formulated the final pieces of this particular series that had already been coming for you, but it kind of like put it forefront. It kind of just let it naturally fall into place. And what I want to say about that, and that confession side of that, like, I also am coming here to confess, like, in a sense that, like, I have nothing to hide. I get a lot of questions all the time about what about you and your journey and what's going on, and what about you and your twin flame. And like, if you've not got caught up to speed on some of my earlier things of my journey, be sure to check out my book below, The Twin Flame Code Breaker, because that book will get you up to speed for kind of the early on phases of my journey. And I will tell you that, in that journey, I still plan to continue to get you caught up with that particular true twin flame experience. But where I've been running up against in this is several things. One is, just like you, I'm on this journey, and it's very intense. And because I walk the walk to talk the talk, I also learn these things from a perspective that it puts me in a position to sometimes make sacrifices for the collective, or, as part of my mission. And, I've been working on that. How can I stay on my path and not sacrifice my path just to learn, just to teach and learn from it? But that's how I also do that. But I have been really put to the test myself over the last 2 years. And even my whole true twin flame journey, it's still unfolding in some ways, but on the flip side of that, it came really full circle from many, many years last fall. And there's some things with that came to this full circle, this resolution, this sort of closing out. And I'll get you up to speed as I can and share my own confessions of that and share with you again, as I mentioned, that journey. But because this is so much, it's so deep, it's so expansive, and by living this out from a place of being on this path with you, while I'm trying to teach you, while I'm trying to navigate to do everything I tell you to show up in purpose and don't wait till you get it right, and just show up and provide what you can. Everything that I've taught you in the last couple years has been my journey of what I've learned and what I've been shown. But it's been so much that it's so hard to give you bite-sized nuggets of it. And there's no way in the impactfulness of that I can take all of that stuff that even I've been through and get it into this to be able to get it to you. And that's where I'm, even writing books as fast as I can. And it's it seemed like on one end, I couldn't get things together enough, fast enough, out there enough, because it's been really intense and it's been a lot. And on the flip side of that, I have by all means shared all that I possibly could to stay open, raw, real, and authentic. But there are also so many things about my journey in the last couple of years that I want to actually kind of use today in this kickoff of, what would you ask your twin flame if you had the opportunity? I want you to make sure, first of all, before I keep going, I want you to answer that question. Leave me a comment below that is something that will help me navigate the questions you want to hear in these interviews, in these live connections with these ascension teachers of mine, so that we can get your answers and we can kind of go through it in front of you and be able to share with you, so you can get the answers and the resolutions and the solutions and your situations, and you can relate and identify to give you a more insider perspective of what your own journey, basically. That's the mission of my Twin Flame Confession show. But as I was saying about my own journey, basically, coming here and being open, raw, and real and authentic, I have no problem with. But because I teach from a perspective of what do I share with you and what do I tell you, when I come here to do that, I know with confidence and certainty from so many things that what I have to share that it's validated for me. And not just me personally, but I'm talking me with the divine guidance, me with people showing up, me on this certain path with teachers that are showing up, clients that are showing up, that really give me my own answers, and I know that they're really solid. So I feel like this whole journey for me has been this science experiment that I keep telling you about. So I want to kind of jump in, and I'm going to kind of fast forward from my book into the last couple of years. I'm going to focus on some of these newer ascension teachers first, and I want to share just a little highlight of that journey today to walk you down a path of an understanding of confessing my own journey for a minute, so that you can see what's ahead and what's coming. And again, I want your questions of what you would ask about this journey, either mine or yours, or what you would ask your twin flame. So, a couple of years ago, I had a person that reconnected in my life. Very short-lived, basically, but I had met them prior, 4 years prior. And in our encounter, that was just a really quick, intense encounter, that particular person had returned from 4 years prior. I think I mentioned that. But I discovered that we had a past life that still needed to be healed and cleared. But it was really playing out as another like really high vibrational like twin flame connection. But I uncovered a past life that was more like a soulmate connection that needed closure to. In that, though, he also is an unawakened like version of our spiritual connection that we would think about, but very much a highly vibrational person that's acting out and playing out a role as a twin flame that's out there in modern mainstream. And we connected in this very powerful, impactful place. And like we were literally within minutes of reconnecting, like even courted by like a cord and everything. That like it was pretty bizarre. So in that, some things we needed to do closed out. But what was the most impactful takeaway I took from it? He used to be a pastor. Well, if you know my situation with my father and my father's religion and how that all played out, what this was doing was rewriting things with my father that, you know, was pointing back to me, like showing the contrast of where I started this journey and how like this person was representing basically that whole journey from a standpoint. There was a lot of judgment involved in it, down to basically he wanted to see me, be with me, do things with me, like, and basically he wanted to go into this power partner situation together, but he wanted to hide behind the label of some things that he wanted to help me with. And I'm like, that don't work in my world. I don't hide anything. And so it was showing that whole judgment of the whole like religion aspect of everything that I had went through. And so basically it gave me a chance to rewrite my entire concept of my journey of what I had went through from this judgment of religion. And I got to stand up to this person, including him with some business partners, and I got to take my power back in the process of it. We're still friends today. He's still tried to connect even since then once in a while. We probably always will be friends, but it really just rewrote the process of me taking back power from the religion standpoint. The interesting thing was, he was the connection that connected me to another person that came into my life that was so impactful, that also was a Christian. Made me look at the concept of like, wow, what if my ending in this, in the divine partner that I align with, what if they ended up being spiritual and they're a Christian? And like I was being put to see that and to start learning how I started seeing to let down all of my expectations of this polarity of, you know, the Christianity was a big thing with my whole journey and my whole religion aspect of my childhood. And I knew I was rewriting it. So I had to be faced with things to be put in a position to not allow that to block me with anything going forward. And so I really surrendered. This person tapped into my heart. He's a singer in Nashville. He like activated me on levels I couldn't even tell you. We were to reconnect, and in the whole journey, we only met in physical once. And in that, we still had this other connection going on that I literally fell in love with this person. The first one I could tell you, I literally was at my heart, touched my heart so deep. And he basically, then I was to go meet him and we were to move forward in our connection. And he gets a weekend gig that was starting on the same weekend we were to connect. And I was 2 days away from flying in and to purchase the ticket. And he's like, oh my gosh, I got this gig and I'm not going to be able to like connect now. And I don't know when I can. And then we went into this whole thing through just nothing between us. We're still today can connect, but you know, it was just through social media of this thing going on of all these triggers. And you know, he was triggering me with stuff, just seeing stuff, and that triggered him. And I would just see his post, and you could tell what he was going through. And then and the other thing is, he wasn't fully confident in himself when we met. So the whole activation, he went on this whole journey of connecting to himself and losing some weight that I didn't even really think he had, but he got really like in shape and, connected to himself and went into his power. And then he ended up in a relationship, and he is in a relationship to this day. And I had to kind of learn to let that go. In the process of me going through that, I had another ascension teacher that came through that was a woman. And quite honestly, that whole thing has been like a 3-year process that like sent me on a journey of all the signs, all of the parts, all of the pieces, and already having been shown that I had to let go of all expectations, but to literally was so defining that I was like, holy shit, I get to the end of this journey and I'm going to be with a woman. And I really had a hard time with that because it took me a while and lots to break down the ego of the fact that it wasn't about, is it a woman or not a woman, but the expectation that I didn't want it to be a woman. I've never been with a woman. And then basically in that scenario, I had to go through a lot of ego, and we were put in the corner together, and our journey still continues. And what I did know is I had to let go of the idea that, love can be in any form. I wrote that in Twin Flame Codebreaker. And I knew very clearly with the lessons that I was being taught that if I went out there and taught you that your twin flame could show up as a same-sex person and love doesn't know any boundaries, that's what I wrote about. I had to surrender to like allowing that to be a possibility because it was a resistance that I didn't know how to handle. And I even, like, in the whole process, it put me in the position of me, like, basically feeling everything my true twin flame felt, and, like, went down an entire journey from the twin flame side of it. And on the flip side, because that particular person had not got all her triggers and had ran from her twin flame, which was also a female, I was triggering her, and still can, but we've harmonized. And in the best way we can, and we are still friends, and we're still connected. And again, that's a 3-year process. So basically, though, it was a lot of the push-pull, the separation, her choosing to have to go away, but we always reconnected in a new way. But anyway, I would trigger her wounds. She didn't get the final lessons from her twin because she had ran from her twin. And so then that put me into the surrender of it, to think I was going to then be like kind of getting out of it, to then be faced with other women that these things were showing up. Like everything I'm telling you showed up. I didn't look for any of those. Everything showed up, including the eternal flame that I talked about in the karmic video that you're going to meet through the next Twin Flame Confessions episode. And basically, the key with him, I had mentioned, is he put me through an exact, rewrite, exact whole twin flame journey from day one to even kind of going up to now. But we've rewrote the whole journey for me. I've been able to rewrite it in a new way, and it's still evolving, and it's still in where it's unfolding in the way that it should. And there's a lot more in that you're going to learn, so I'm not going to go into detail a lot with that. But what I want to tell you, my key takeaway from that was that I had to break down, is because when he showed up in my life, he showed up exactly where my twin flame was, which, by the way, I said this in the other video, but just to say, they're like the same soul in two different bodies, and I'm so pure, and the whole journey mimicked it down to a T. And so, but in that, the key he was teaching me is that he came back which I did say came back because he had been in my life also prior to re-showing up. And he came back having left a marriage, and then in addition to that, needing healing. And in that process, then I had to look at that from a place of somebody bringing baggage with them, in a sense that, like, where I was and have been is clear of that karma and ready to be in a more power status and looking at it from a different angle. And so I had to basically be put through a process of not just letting go of my past story from the twin flame journey, but rewriting it. But then in addition to that, like let go of the expectations that it might not be somebody that still has things to clear. And you're going to enjoy meeting him. He's just a beautiful, beautiful soul. I can't wait to share him with you. He'll be on the next episode. So stay tuned this weekend, okay? Then I was put to the test of somebody that was super, super young, and like looking at it that. And then, you know, like by that point, I was just like, I was young, sign me up, you know, like, you know, at this point, everybody I've been with had already been younger too, but not this young. But even though he was young, very wise starseed soul. That's such ancient wisdom that just blow you away. And I hope he'll be on too. I think he probably will be. And then like I started just like reprocessing and still going through cycles and still having like two people, like especially the woman and the eternal flame person that was a rewrite coming through to keep showing me both sides of the coin, from being the twin flame, true twin flame in experiences to my own, and then everything in between. And then I started getting to this place of knowing I needed to step out of the maze and step out of all those situations, and how much of what was still running was mine and what wasn't. And I started having to take power back from these people. And as I started doing that, it either called for like kind of exiting the situation, not from a place of running, but taking back my power, or they were going to like roll with me. Well, they actually have rolled with me. All right. So basically then I decided that I was going to open up the space for someone to come in. And as this was happening over the last several months, I started feeling my own divine masculine inside die. And I was becoming more feminine and more feminine and more feminine. And, you know, these two, the female and the eternal flame, they were helping me come into my femininity on a way that I never had. And so basically then, as I knew I was ready for a partner and kind of stepping, and just so you know, they know about each other, all open about this, and like, you'll learn more about the stories, the individual stories, but I was just, you know, taking back my power. And so in that, I had decided I would date. And so I connected with this guy that sort of just saw this guy, sent me a message saying like, oh my gosh, like I can see in you, like I can tell we're going to meet, we're going to look at each other in the eyes, and we're going to like know something about our future. And so this guy showed up, and he was the inner divine masculine that was my divine masculine inside that had died. This person came back representing everything about who I had been, who I was as a masculine in my own self, and everything that I always wanted in a masculine. We connected on every level very quickly, the most open I have ever been in my life. And in that, I proceeded to be honest and tell him that I'm planning to move to LA. And in like about a year and a half or something like that. And he's like, well, first of all, he had gotten out of a relationship and wanted to take things very slow. But he's basically said, I'm falling in love with you, and I can't do that if you're moving because I have parents and I'm an only child, and I can't move to LA. And so basically, I can't do this with you. So I had to honor that and respect that and give him the space for that. And he wants to remain friends. And, you know, I'm kind of coming out of this going, I don't need another effing friend. Like, I'm being serious. Like, I don't need another effing friend. I have plenty of friends. Like, oh, I'm looking for a power partner, divine lover. And of course, I'm already like becoming that divine lover with Ben, right? As this was happening with this particular person, and I'm kind of coming out of that and like deciding I'm going back in my little lion's den, and I'm going to just keep focused on my mission, and like, okay, y'all can just go have a little party somewhere else because I'm really ready to take a break for a minute. This has been intense. And guess what? Another person shows up. out of nowhere. It's in my local spiritual community that we know everybody that knows everybody together, but we had never met. He reached out to connect with me for coffee to talk about missions, and I'm like, well, check with me later. I'm doing branding and had all the other stuff going on, but I felt like I was supposed to connect with him. And there were some other things that you'll learn along the way that I knew I was. And, as I was clearing out that other person, then it aligned, and then that became kabam. That became like synergy like I've never saw in my life. And that person is the person I talked about that treats me like a goddess and is the most balanced person that I've ever met. And he's in a place of, being open, ready, willing. Everything I put on my list, with the one exception of that I am not feeling the connection. And there's a couple things in that. It's that I had already told him, I'm getting out of this other situation. I've had all this going on. I need some space to collect from all of this, to get free from all of that. And not only that, I have some very deep people that are very heart-centered with me, that I'm connected to the heart. And, I don't even know where some of this is unfolding with that. All I know is I can go with the flow. I can show up. I can, I'm open to the experience of anything. I'm open and unattached to these things, and it just has to unfold the way it is. That's been my journey. That's where I'm at right now. But I have all these amazing, amazing, amazing teachers that are very impactful, very, very powerful, that have basically helped me become who I am, that I wouldn't be here without them today. Love every one of them. You're going to get to meet some of them, and I hope, that you can learn from that. So, make sure you get short questions in below, and I'll be keeping you updated and abreast, and I can't wait to share the next episode with you for the Twin Flame Confessions. So it'll be broken down in different parts and different teachers, and I don't even know how long this is going to go, but I see this kind of being an ongoing thing for a while. Let me know what you think about this idea. Let me know if you have any suggestions or comments. And I just want to remind everyone that if you are wanting to do some more healing within, that I have the free Your Soul Group Healing Program that starts on April 19th. So check out the link below. And I am so excited to be able to just sort of confess all of this and get this out in such a way that now I'm able to do it from a place of knowing what the heck's happening, why, and I can do it with confidence in such a way that I can deliver it as I'm still learning, as I'm writing about it, and get you caught up to speed in a way that you get to use, as always, my examples, my journey as your reflection, so you can keep glowing forward on fire. So make sure to like, comment, share the shine, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode of Twin Flame Confessions.